Activator of food business success. And today we about money. We're talking about how to find money to fund your business. Super important. We need money to start our business. As a packaged food business, there's just no way around it. Your business is going to cost you some money. So let's just make peace with that there is a certain level of investment. And then to really make a successful business, we're going to be spending more money at the beginning than we are taking in. So when we're talking about finding money, I often talk with a lot of people who they just have this delicious dream that they're starting from their home business, right? Their home kitchen. And there certainly are some products and ways of doing it that are less expensive versus more expensive. Um, if you want to start cottage food, for instance, like it's going to be much lower barrier to entry. You can get in a lot less expensive. But if you have a dairy product or, I don't know, more potentially hazardous food, certainly if you have a meat product, those are going to be a lot more expensive to get going, right? If you need to get a kitchen or you're going with a co-packer, something like that. So, money is going to be required no matter what size of business you start. I work with so many people, like I said, who just have this delicious idea and um, they don't have a lot of money. They want to get this started on a small level, and I totally appreciate that. I love my bootstrappers. I work with a lot of them inside Food Business Success. Even though they are bootstrapping, they recognize the value of having a guide and somebody that can help them get going faster and steer clear of where people waste time and money. I often can find lots and lots of money that they would have spent without working with somebody like myself. So, I do want to encourage you, even if you are bootstrapping, that Food Business Success is built for you. Don't try to do this all on your own. It is the most costly way in time and money. But that said, you are still going to need money because you need to purchase all of your inventory, right? So that is your packaging, your ingredients. Obviously, your labor can be free in quotes for now if you're making the product, but you're going to need to, if you need to get a kitchen, maybe you need services like design services, trademark services. Um, eventually you're going to want to do promotions. You might need equipment. You might be paying for some help with labor, right? So there's going to be lots of things that are going to come up that you might need to spend money on. And so it's really important that we understand how much money we need at the beginning so that we are setting ourselves up for success. Because when I see people start with a little bit and then it's slow, then they like have to pause and then they come back, like it's just a really slow process and it just feels grinding and not that much fun for people. And I find that's when we give up versus when we understand what we're going to need to come up with, go through the steps of doing that, and then we know exactly, like, this is the chunk of money that I have to work with. Let's go, right? We can turn it all on. And the same is true for if you're scaling up. So I work with a lot of clients who are scaling up, right? Going to the next level of sales channels, going into grocery stores or Amazon, online, that kind of thing. So every stage of the business, you're going to need money. So how do we get that money? Well, I want to offer some kind of traditional ways and then some other non-traditional ways. So, oftentimes people will self-fund their business, right? So maybe you are you're borrowing money from your own savings, your 401k, a credit card. So you are you're finding the money in your own your own realm, right? And then certainly going beyond that, I've had people, would oftentimes work with friends and family, right? We call that the FF loans, the friends and family loans, where you are just borrowing a chunk of money. Ideally, you are doing that at low interest or zero interest or deferred interest, so that you don't have to pay it back right away. It is really important that you do have an agreement. So you can just Google, like, friends and family loan agreement, but get something in writing, because you would hate for money to come in the way of your friendship if there was something not understood. So the easiest way to avoid that is to just have it clear in writing. Okay. I have had people um, know that they're going to leave their current job for this one. And so they work really hard and they save up money, right? They cut expenses, they work overtime, they do extra. I've had people do side hustles, right? Where they're working for Instacart or driving for Uber or, doing side hustle work to save up that money. And so you don't have to borrow. You can delay your gratification for a little bit and actually go out and hustle your money, right? Do that side thing to create that extra pot of cash that you need to go and fund your business. So those are kind of ones I definitely would recommend when you first get started. When you want to go up to the next level, or if none of those are going to work for you, here's some options. Um, there are like microloan nonprofit lenders. That's usually a good place to start when you need, like, I don't know, I would say somewhere between like 5 and 20 grand, maybe 30 grand. Um, Here in Colorado, we have someone called B-Side Lending and then Colorado Enterprise Fund. So you want to just try to find some. They might be state. They're probably, a lot of times they're state. I've also heard of Axion, and I've recommended clients to them. They're national, but just look in your local state for a nonprofit microloan for businesses, and you might be able to find your own. Their interest rates are probably gonna be like low double digits, but they're gonna be much more friendly to lending to small business owners like yourself. And then, so those are nonprofit microloans. If you go to a bank, so people often ask me about going to a traditional bank, getting a commercial loan. One of our members inside Food Business Success, shout out to Kevin. He gave us a great presentation about being ready for going into traditional financing. He used to be a business banker, and he told us that it's really until you've been in business for 2 years, you're not going to be considered for a traditional business loan from a bank. So you need that 2 years to show that you are a viable business, which I know people are like, but I like I need the money to show that I'm a viable business. But that's where we got to do the nonprofit stuff, or we need to do the side hustle or other forms of payment of other getting money. But just keep in mind that but he told us that anything under 20K, the bank's gonna just say, "Get a line of credit or use a credit card," right? You could always get a line of credit against your mortgage as well. It's another option. You're going to probably most likely have to personally guarantee any kind of loan you get with a bank, a traditional loan. So that means your house is on the line, right? Anything personal to go ahead and guarantee that. You are gonna need with any of, like, even a nonprofit bank or a traditional bank, just know that you are gonna need a business plan. You are gonna need projections and a forecast, potentially a full pro forma for 2 to 3 years. There are some good loans, some business loans through the Small Business Administration as well that I love. The 7A loan in particular, because it will fund both working capital and equipment. And so oftentimes in a CPG packaged food business, we need working capital. Equipment's great, right? That could be like the mixer, but most likely you need the working capital, right? The inventory purchases and the labor and things like that. So there are some good options once you've been in business for 2 years, but again, we gotta, like, get there. So, um, other kind of less traditional ways, crowdsourcing is definitely an option. You could go just the flat GoFundMe route, which is like free money if people pay it, right? But you have to make a really compelling case, and I know that there are some limitations, and there may be some thresholds that you have to meet. So I haven't seen people be super successful with GoFundMe, unfortunately, but um, those are things that definitely usually pull on people's heartstrings more to just give you the money. You could go with a more traditional crowdfunding source like Kickstarter. Um, I will say that Kickstarter is an incredibly intense process. It's going to require some funds upfront to get it going and to do it well. It's also going to require a ton of time on your part. And then ultimately, you're giving people something in exchange for their money. So when I helped with Defy Foods a little bit. They were doing Kickstarter. And like when I contributed to Defy Foods Kickstarter, I got like 3 bags of their crackers, right? So maybe you're doing t-shirts or hats or crackers or whatever your product, but ultimately they're getting something in exchange for it. And you're going to put quite a bit of money and time up front to set it up correctly. Um, I will say that there is a huge benefit of Kickstarters, if you can I mean, honestly, if you can afford it to raise the money that way, uh, that you do get this really great list of, like, highly qualified raving fans of people who have given you money, like, they're so excited for you. So, in the future and as you go along, you already have this amazing base, right? Another option is, Kiva. And Kiva is a loan. It's a 0% loan, but it's crowdsourced. So you kind of get the benefits of a loan, in that you're not like people aren't just giving you money. So sometimes it can be easier to get people to participate because they're loaning you the money. It's all on the Kiva platform. And there is some work up front, not as intense as like a Kickstarter, but you're going to need to put some photos and some things about your business and your mission and what you're going to use the money for. You don't need to have nearly like a full pro forma or anything like that. And then you are responsible for going out and you have to raise a certain amount of money on your own. And then when you do that, then they open it up to their full platform of people who are just donating. So shout out to April and Earl with Better Than Provisions. They did a loan raise through that and were very successful. And then Caitlin with Pines Peak, she's on there currently. So you can go check out her profile and maybe send her a little bit of money as a loan. But those are a couple of people who've had a lot of success and they are successful on there right now using Kiva. I do think, it's a really good option, and I like that it is a loan. Just keep in mind that, you have to do work. You don't just put it out there and then hope that it all happens. Like, I will tell you, everybody I've talked with, I mean, you're texting people, you're emailing them, you're making phone calls, like, you are talking to people and you're asking them for money, and so you have to be really confident in what you're doing, and it can put you in a little bit of a you might feel some discomfort, right? And have to have that conversation with that long lost relative or, or something like that, maybe you're not super comfortable with. So just keep in mind that that is part of the process. And if you don't raise the money, right, then you don't get it. So I think you can go up to 15K for Kiva. And they do have like a deferred 3-month, I believe, where you defer for 3 months, but then you're going to start paying the loan back, but it is 0% interest. Um, but there is work, right? None of this is set it and forget it. So I think, oh, and of course, the other thing is grants, of course. I am all for you using anything you can, right? If you are a woman-owned business, BIPOC, anything that you can to get grants, I'm all for it. Um, so I would subscribe. There's Hello or Ask Alice, I believe it's called. That's a good one to subscribe to. Uh, through my like you can subscribe through your city or state government. They usually have a grant email that will go out and let you know about any upcoming grants that you might be eligible for. And then really good to get on your Small Business Development Center's list. They're part of the Small Business Administration. You can go to sba.gov, I believe, and then find your local office. I highly recommend that as a great place for resources in general, but they will definitely keep you, in touch, keep you aware of any upcoming grants. And it is about small business, right? So those are some good ones. Usually like FedEx has one every year. So some of the businesses that support small business also have grants. So just get on some lists so you can be notified. And then it's really good to do this work ahead of time. If you go to the Kiva app, I think, or the Kiva platform, you can see the questions that you need to put together. And even if you don't do a Kiva loan, just have those questions ready because you're going to need them for a grant. You're going to need them for anything that you do. And that's more about your business and your mission and who you are and what you're doing out in the world, right? So just having those documents, I think, ahead of time is a really smart strategic thing you can do. I'm gonna just say, please do not give away equity in your company if at all possible. This would be my very, very last resort. I know sometimes it works out for people, but when you give away, if you're like, I'm going to give away 25% of my company for $20,000 loan, when you do that, if you become really successful, you are going to regret it 100%. Because, right now your business isn't worth very much, but 20% of $1 million business is a lot. And you're going to have to raise more money to get to that place. And when you start giving away equity, venture capitalists do not like that. If you need to go and raise money through that kind of a thing, so just be leery. I do not recommend, if you can avoid it, do not give any equity away. I would much prefer that you do a friends and family loan, that you do low interest or deferred interest, but please don't give away equity in your business, especially when it's a really small, just starting out kind of thing. All right. The biggest question that I get, and if anybody has any questions here about raising money, please feel free to put that in the chat. But I think we gave you a nice overview of like some traditional things, but also some kind of more unique, non traditional ways to go out and find the money you need. So, how do you know how much you need? Well, I have put together what's called the Food Business Idea Activator, and I'm running the first one here in May. But go ahead and check out the website if you're listening to this afterwards. Go and check it out, foodbizsuccess.com/activate. And this is going to be a way for you to interact with me. And I am going to evaluate your business and tell you exactly how much it's going to cost, how much time, and help you answer that question. Is this a good idea? Will it work? Those are the two biggest questions I get all the time, right? After 6 years of doing this, all the hundreds of products and more that I have helped, all of those brands to get started. And it's always that same question, right? Is this a good idea? Will it work? And I want to tell you that I can help you answer that question with just a little bit of time on your end and a small investment. I've made this very accessible. It's worth a little bit of investment up front before you get started or before you go and scale to the next level. So I'd love to see you inside of that. We're going to have a couple group calls. You're going to have a little bit of homework to do, some pre-work, so that I can really evaluate that and give you a good answer. All right, go out there and raise some money. Uh, Start your business. I know that it's scary, and I know that fear comes up for so many of us. If fear wasn't coming up, I would be a little bit concerned. So, of course you're feeling a little afraid. Of course this is a big deal, and I recognize that for some people, they're like, "Oh, 20K, not that big of an investment. Let's give it a try." And then some people is like, "What?" Like 20K, I don't just have that lying around. Like, that's a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. But as we get into business, like, the amounts of money are just going to keep adding up and getting bigger and bigger as we grow and become more profitable and become a better business. So, it is possible no matter where you're at to get started somehow. But recognize that you will need some money. So go out there and get it. Please let me know if you have any questions that I can help you with, and consider joining me inside either the Activator or inside Food Business Success. I would love to see you there. Have a great day.